The storm itself would be closer here to Hagerstown and diving off to the south. So these storms have been moving out of parts of Indiana, diving off to the south and bringing that potential for rotation and, of course, leading to a tornado to these areas. So
we have a freeze warning in half of the area. We have a frost advisory in the other half. Either way, it's going to be very chilly overnight.
So Helene was a Category 4 when it made landfall, but it kind of skirted along the coast, remember? And then it kind of made that turn. So this is moving, I mean, directly across Florida from west to east. So it's making a much more direct impact, and the storm surge is going to be twice as high with this storm. And again, we have 2 tornado warnings now. So this one was just issued for Union County, and it does include Brookville. So this is another radar indicated tornado.
We learned a lot about this, you know, even if as citizen scientists, you know, we were gathering our own data. I was measuring the temperature. It dropped quite a bit, but did it live up to your expectations? What did you think?
Oh, it was amazing.
It has been 10 months since we warned the residents here in Goshen about that tornado, and you can tell from looking above that the damage is still evident. This large tree fell on the home when Angel and her daughter were inside. They were actually taking cover in the back of the house in the bathroom. Now, just in February, the house was demolished. The construction company did do that, but since then, they have not done a lot of work.
Kind of see this rotation would be somewhere in here, just kind of north of Brookville. So if you're in any portions of Franklin County, again, take cover because this storm system definitely has some very strong gusty winds. Obviously, it could have some rotation leading to that tornado.
But I tested my solar glasses. The sun is still completely full right now, but we are very close to seeing that partial eclipse here in Indianapolis, just minutes away from that. So everybody getting even more excited, especially now that the race cars are out here.
Ashley, it is always gorgeous. I know the last time, I think that you were showcasing Covington. Is that correct?
Yes. That's right. Yes. So we are here in Newport, which is brand new this year. They expanded into Newport. That gives you 6 zones for blink. And Trisha, it's a walking event. Remember, don't blink and drive. You've got to walk to all of these installations. Yes, while there is still some fog out there, it's lifting. So while it looks pretty bad here on the tower camera at the surface level, it's not quite that bad. Because is the Ohio River a safe place to recreate?
So the answer is most of the time.
I learned it's not just for kids because we came over here to the fan zone, which it's not just for kids, it's for all ages, all abilities. But we saw Kelly just going wild on the reaction wall over here. And what was your score? I think I got a 36.
Ashley Smith is an overachiever, to say the least. So she couldn't just show us the light. She has to get out there and skate too, right, Ashley?
Man, I wasn't sure if you guys knew about that. You put me on blast. Now I have to skate at some point. But first, let's talk about what we're doing here. First of all, there's some skaters behind us.
We have a lot of strong women in it. However, I think a lot of people, you know, a lot of women are just, you're busy too.
Oh,
you got
well,
things
my mom
going
said,
on.
do any of those people have kids? Well, no, not a lot of them because it takes a lot of time. However, I will say there was one competitor that was 3 months postpartum. So good for her. I mean, yeah, right?
It's awesome.
But yeah, I finished second. My brother loved that I was standing on a plate. When you turn on the water in your home, do you know where that water comes from? For more than 1 million people right here in the tri-state, it's the Ohio River. Beautiful pre-sunrise shot there at Turfway Park. It is cool, although CVG, one of the warmer spots in the 40s right now. Many of us are in the 30s, so if you are going out and about today, early this morning, grab those extra layers, but by this afternoon, it's going to be quite pleasant. Okay, right now we are, of course, talking about what's happening in the Gulf. We have Hurricane Milton, a very strong Category 4 hurricane. We should have an update here by 5 o'clock. Sometimes that comes in maybe 10, 15 minutes early, so if we get it within this hour, I will pass that along to you. But if not, of course, Steve Horsemeyer will have that at 5. But likely it has strengthened. It's already at 155-mile-per-hour winds. If it gets to 157, that's a Category 5 storm, but it's moving over these warm waters of the Gulf, and that just allows it to, of course, gain more energy as it moves away from Mexico. Remember, yesterday it had winds of 180 miles per hour, so that just goes to show you how much, when it does move over top of land, it does weaken. Already in parts of Florida, they're seeing some of those impacts from the outer bands, but it is expected to make landfall
as that either strong Category 3 or weak Category 4 hurricane, which either way is a major hurricane sometime tomorrow night or early Thursday morning. Near Tampa, probably somewhere between Tampa and Fort Myers, but this entire area is going to have major impacts. And, you know, Jeremy mentioned UC heading to Orlando specifically for that game on Saturday. So far, UCF has already canceled all sports for Wednesday and Thursday. They say as of now that game is on, but we'll just have to see what kind of mess Milton leaves behind. So a lot of things to kind of watch in the coming days. But of course, the storm surge, I think, is going to be the biggest impact from this storm. You're looking at 10 to 15 feet of water. That's ocean water just being poured into these areas in this kind of purple shading. So it's all the way from north of Tampa to Fort Myers, where they could see that 10 to 15 feet of water. Then you have rain on top of it. So we're looking at major impacts of flooding especially, but very strong winds too. 70 right now at CVG, of course, just beautiful weather here at home. 72 at Lunken. Right now it is gorgeous there with, of course, CVG off in the background here at Turfway Park with winds light out of the north around 4 miles per hour. Saturday morning, Queen Bee half marathon and 4-mile race with temperatures in the mid to upper 50s should be quite pleasant on Saturday, because by Sunday we're looking at very strong gusty winds across the area as high as 40 miles per hour. Mainly dry weather here in the coming days. You look at the extended forecast. Sunday, that rain is north of us. Monday, we may have a sprinkle or two, but for the most part, it looks like we go right back to that lengthy period of time with dry weather, and that means drought conditions will likely worsen. Temperatures remain in the 70s in the coming days. We warm into the 80s this weekend, and then back down into the 60s and 70s early next week. Trisha?
All right. You are seeing some of that fog continue to lift here across the region. You see here on our tower camera, as it gets closer and closer to the camera, it looks much worse than it really is. But of course, as it lifts, it's going to get closer to our tower camera because it's so high up. But down here at Newport on the Levee, we've already seen that fog clear out. So a beautiful start to the day. Of course, it's dry, nothing on radar. We do have 2 named storms in the Atlantic right now. We actually have Tropical Depression Nadine, which is in southern Mexico, and we have Hurricane Oscar, which is expected to make this kind of 180-degree turn in the coming days, eventually weaken to a tropical storm, but impacting portions of Cuba, headed toward the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, seeing an impact there as well with hurricane and tropical storm warnings for most of those areas. 43 right now at CVG with light winds. If you are watching the game, if you're going to the game in Cleveland, we are expecting pleasant conditions there, as we will have here. Kind of similar weather in both locations, with temperatures climbing into the 70s by halftime. Then, after the game and after you watch football here on Fox 19, we have that 4:25 game as well. You're going to be looking at those temperatures falling down into the 50s during Blink. A mild evening. If you remember Thursday, it was downright cold out there. Much better weather if you're heading out for the last night of Blink tonight. As far as any kind of rain chances, they are few and far between. We may have a sprinkle or two here or there by the middle of the week as a very weak disturbance moves through. And then we're looking at maybe this time next week seeing more plentiful rain. Either way, it looks pretty dry. It looks pretty quiet. Much of the same weather kind of continuing. We start the week very warm with temperatures in the 70s, even close to 80, and then we drop those temperatures by the end of the week. So mid-70s today, 77 tomorrow, 79 on Tuesday. We're still warm on Wednesday, and then comes that big drop from 78 on Wednesday to 63 on Thursday. But we warm things right back up in time for next weekend. Stay tuned. We're back right after this.